Good morning. I'm Chef Kelly Crisp with the Gastronome, Culinary Collective, and Lefty's on Greenwood, and we're with KIPP Tulsa Public Charter Schools Better Together Breakfast. I've got Michael Hinojosa here today, my sous chef. He's an 11th grader with KIPP Tulsa, and we're going to show you how to do a breakfast casserole based on a dish that's one of Michael's favorites, mac and cheese. We're going to start with a little bit of Gruyere cheese, an actual hard Swiss cheese, very similar to a Parmesan cheese in France. If you would, Michael, let's get that out and we'll grate it. So what got you interested in cooking, Michael?
In kindergarten, I was really young. I had gotten sick from something I'd ate, and since my parents were at work at the time, I had to, spend time with my great-grand-uncle and his wife. But they were also at work, and so I had to, stay with them while they were working, and they worked at a Pizza Hut. And at the time, they were all like, Mike, come here. Let's show you how things are done in here. And they let me make my own, a personal pizza. The one that that's just 4 slices, really small. You only ever give it to kids.
So besides being an 11th grade student at KIPP, what are some of the extracurricular things that you do?
Yeah, I've helped the staff members in the office with audits, inventory checks, and a bunch of other mundane things that would take too much time if they didn't have any extra help.
What has given you the spark to do something like that? Because there are a lot of students that would just, my day's over, I'm going home.
Boredom.
Really?
Boredom is one of the greatest motivators because, well, whenever you're bored, what do? Just pretty much whatever that comes to mind, right?
Right. And sometimes that could be no good.
Exactly. So if I'm gonna do something out of boredom, I might as well, do something worthwhile, right?
Something constructive with your time.
Yeah.
I think we can use all of that cheese. Let's make it cheesy. Let's get it good and cheesy.
And they'll rerun it on 80s movie channels.
All right, I think we got enough. Try to keep as much as that bowl as you can. And any extra, you can put your block in there, and any extra that won't fit in there, you can put it in that block with the block.
So my school has been, pretty much all schools have been hit with COVID pretty differently. How has the restaurant industry been doing? Because I know that's kind of an important thing.
That's a really good question. The food service industry handled it very well, along with the healthcare industry. It was just something that we do. We take that pride and that concern, and if we have to take extra precautions, so be it. But we want to keep our businesses open. It's what we do. It's a career I chose. So has it been tough? Absolutely, but I'm still here. Our Lefty's is still there. There are a lot of restaurants that have made it. So the thing is, I encourage people, go out. Even if it's to get a to-go order, support your local business.
That actually reminds me of this one thing I saw on YouTube. It was a documentary about various kinds of Cajun foods, like actual family Cajun foods. One of the restaurants that the guy was going to was actually a restaurant that started in 1850 and has been carried on through an entire family line.
Sounds like Commander's Palace.
Yeah, and that kind of got me thinking about the smaller restaurants, the family-owned kinds. And that kind of gets me thinking because not all of those restaurants have the ability to, they don't really have a lot of staying power, like the ability to blow through this entire thing.
Deep pockets.
Yeah.
Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna brown a little bit of breakfast sausage. While Michael's cutting the cream cheese, we're gonna get our sausage browned and crumbled up and ready to go. And then we'll saute some peppers and onions after that inside of our browned sausage.
So right now I am dicing up the cream cheese that will be used for the cheese in the casserole. I know that a lot of cheeses could be used for various kinds of mac and cheese because Well, cheese is a very versatile ingredient. There are various kinds, and depending on where you get it or when you get it, the outcome will be different. Different size, flavor, texture, smell, definitely. So depending on what you actually like, there's probably a cheese for that.
Do you have a favorite cheese, Michael?
Not really. I don't really have a favorite cheese because I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want out of a cheese.
Out of a cheese?
Yeah.
So now we've got our sausage and peppers, nice and brown, ready to go. If you would you hand me all of the dairy items that you have? Oh, look at that. Yes, sir. And the reason I became a chef is I'm a firm believer in trying to learn something new. Like you said, you don't like being bored.
Yeah, I don't like being bored.
I'm bored when I don't learn something new. If there's a day that goes by that I haven't learned something new, and it doesn't have to be about food, it's about life, it's about people, it's about, if I don't learn something new every day, I didn't have a good day. Yeah, since I'm really big into learning something new, and I will say that during this coronavirus and the COVID-19 crisis has hit America, I've had to relearn a lot of stuff for the restaurant. I have had to learn a lot of things about safety and sanitation. I'm sure you as a student have had to have some challenges during all of this epidemic.
Particularly, it's just been adapting to the new way that we're learning, because we're going into our rooms and we have our computers on and we just sit there. And I've noticed that a lot of the students are restless or is just having to do something that we haven't really prepared for a long time, especially something like isolation, because we need other people around us or something to keep us company, or else we just kind of lose it a bit.
Cabin fever.
Exactly. So I know my school has been doing a lot of things to try to help out people in the classes. So what has Lefty's been doing, if anything at all, for people around the community in the restaurant industry or just in general?
Well, I will say that I know for a fact that Lefty's, the owner of Lefty's, Kajir Yar, has donated over 60,000 meals to homeless and displaced citizens here in Tulsa and in the community. He actually gave lunches every day for over 3 months. I want to say it was probably 5 months, somewhere around the 5 months, but every day he did over 100 meals at a church on Greenwood, one of the historical black churches, Vernon AME. There's been very few other restaurants that have stepped up as much as Lefty's has, and it just makes me proud to be a part of it. You're really big with volunteering.
Yep.
What is some of the most recent things you've done?
Well, during the summer, I helped do inventory on the Chromebooks and even distributed some to students on certain days.
When you look at being a volunteer, what is it that you look for in return?
I'm supposed to get something back?
I like that answer. That's a really good answer, because you're right. You're doing it out of passion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just add our heavy cream to our pot. We're gonna heat this up. Now, as I'm heating this up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of scrape the sides, get some of the vegetables off. I'm gonna kind of scrape the bottom. Again, we wanna get some of these bits. All of this is flavor. So in addition to what we do at Lefty's, I created a company called the Gastronome, a culinary collective. The whole point of the culinary collective is to put minorities from Tulsa, Oklahoma, particularly Black Wall Street minorities, on the forefront of food in America. So now at this point, I'm gonna break this down, kind of separate our cubes a little bit, and we're just gonna let this melt. I'm gonna take a whisk and kind of whisk it. That way that'll smooth it out, that'll get out any lumps that may create. All right, Michael, our cheese sauce is thick. We're really, really smooth. We've gotten our lumps worked out. I think it's time to assemble this now. So what I'm gonna do is, we've got our sausage and pepper mix. We've got our cheese sauce. We've got our pasta that has been drained. All right, so we've got our mix. We've got our cheese sauce here, nice and warm, ready to go. I'm gonna pour this over. As you guys can see, oh, look at that. You wanna get all of that goodness in here. So we're gonna just stir this together. You know what? I'm gonna let you do this, Michael. If you would be so kind, I'll take the time right now to melt a little butter. Spray our casserole dish so that nothing sticks. Now, if you would be so kind, Michael, would you hand me the hash browns out of the refrigerator and we'll get this finished. We're almost there. How you looking over there? Oh, that looks really, really, really nice, Michael. So now we've got our nice mixed up. Oh, that looks really good, really cheesy. Pour this in our, oh yeah, I want all of that. I'm gonna scrape all of that good cheese in this. We have our potatoes. We got our melted butter, our nice hash browns here. Just gonna scoop this on top. We're gonna all that buttery goodness on these potatoes. It's gonna help crisp it up and brown it, plus give it a great, great flavor. Now we're ready to put this in our preheated 350-degree oven. I'm gonna set that right in the middle of the rack for about 10 minutes, maybe 15, but closer to 10. All right, Michael, I think our casserole's done. Let's pull it out the oven and see what we got. Oh man, look at that. Wow. Wow, that is really nice. Look at that, piping hot, bubbling. Nice color. Man, smells good. You smell that? You know, I had a good time today cooking with my sous chef, Michael Hinojosa. Just like I created my company, The Gastronome, I feel a deep need to help my community. I'm glad that I got to help Michael today, and I hope that he comes back as a leader in the future and does big things with his community. So come down to Greenwood, come down to Lefty's, and maybe we can help our community together.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. House. It's so good to see you this afternoon, virtually, that is.
Darius, it's always good to see you too.
Yes, sir. A thing that my father yesterday pulled out, it was an article. It was the very first article that you and I were in together. And it was a picture with you and I standing right on this wall back here. He was like, Darius, I always kept this. And I said, well, Pops, I just want to let you know, like, the reason why I'm here, even in this role, it is because of Mr. House and what he gave to me as a teacher. So I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. House, thank you. Because the reason why I'm even sitting at this place as the executive director of KIPP Tulsa is because of the things that you have poured into my life. And my goal as a leader is to do exactly the same thing. And so thank you.
We appreciate it. In my opinion, I haven't seen very many people better than Darius in the country in terms of being able to enculturate kids. So walking into a building in year one without many of the tangible things that people believe you have to have, we created it. I can remember sitting down with and watching Erica and Darius and Kendra and the rest of the crew put together our written enculturation curriculum and our involving our school design plan. And even though we didn't have some of those things that most people needed, we left the summer with an understanding that we were developing a special environment for kids.
We have to do Maslow's before we do Bloom's. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is like you have to meet them at that basic level. What is it that they need? They just want people to know that they care. If you show them that you care and that you're willing to do whatever for them, they're going to perform for you in those classrooms. And that's what our scholars did.
They did.
Give us some context and some historical aspects of the things that happened before the summer of 2005 and what led you up to that point. So,
I was a principal right around the corner at Marion Anderson Elementary, where we had gone through a pretty extensive turnaround effort. I was named principal of the year, What I was struggling with was with the idea of kids leaving our program and the choices that they had for middle school. So there had been some footwork done in the community, had been on some task force to take a look at, some options for students in 3 different zip codes in the North Tulsa area.
One of the things that really drew me to KIPP at the time was the belief that all students can and will learn, and to push them to high expectations. I think that was a personal mantra for me as an educator growing up in North Tulsa. And so for me to interact with young people and to see them pushing, for you to have that same drive, I think that immediately is what drew me to not only KIPP, but also to you and your philosophy. Some of the people who are watching this video don't really know some of the founders who were a part of KIPP Tulsa College Preparatory at that time. Name some of the people, and why did you choose some of those people?
One of the easiest people to recruit was Erica Crossley /Walker, who was a teacher at Anderson Elementary. She was one of the most phenomenal reading teachers that I'd ever come across. They had to have a passion for the children, had to have a passion for the children in that community. Of course, Darius, it was important for me to ensure that my children saw people that looked like them in the form of men as well. So I was elated to have the opportunity to meet you. Kanita Humphrey, I never knew Kanita. She was a phenomenal teacher, a phenomenal individual that understood the social and emotional needs. Each one of my founding teachers had incredible stories that were passionate about changing lives, being a part of the solution of social justice in Tulsa. And then finally, the 4th individual was Kendra Bramlett.
Talk a little bit about how did you recruit some of those scholars to come and join the program? Because this is brand new, right?
It was grassroots. We literally took card tables to the Rudisill Library, the local McDonald's at Pine and Peoria, the YMCA that was close to Pine and Peoria as well, and we set up shop there. So I can remember the first parent, Rathan Smith, that stopped and essentially signed up Haley, his daughter, and I can remember telling Rathan that I know for a fact that we can assist in what it is for a large number of the students in this community to go to college. And Rathan said, "Tell me more. I'm on board. I'm listening."
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. House. I really do appreciate that story. I just remember those times of working with those scholars and telling them, yes, you can and you will go to college. We ingrain them from the moment they step on our campus. And I just remember those moments and those times. And before we do that, because I want to talk about another student that you and I had an interaction with. But before we go there, talk a little bit about some of your philosophies that help move or motivate you and some of the actions that you have done within education.
One of the things that I always push through action, not only to staff but also to students, is and something my father used to tell me, and it was we have to reach one and teach one. And I say that from the student level because there was an expectation that at some point in your life you're going to give back, whether it's your time, your talent, or your resources. And I know that you all have done a great job setting the stage and providing opportunities for students to come back and give of their time, their talent, and resources. And that was an important push for me. So to hear about those instances where you have had students back, hired a student, from what I understand, is inspirational to me because I think that's what makes a community. And that's what makes a community's legacy.
And it's so funny that you said that because, yes, we definitely hired back one of our very inaugural class scholars, Joseph Dyer. And when the time came with him even thinking about being hired, I said, "What, Joseph Dyer? You mean the same Joseph Dyer that was here at the middle school?" They was like, "Yes, Mr. Kirk, he mentioned you." And I was like, "Wow, yes, let's go ahead and bring him on." I just remember as a person, as a teacher, really trying to cultivate him and try to say, "Hey, you need to push yourself. Don't give up, sir. Continue to do your very best." And to see him now in this position to do those same things, that to me is truly powerful. So, Mr. House, I definitely appreciate these conversations that we're having. But in talking about, 2005, Can you think about the most memorable time that you had, even 2005, 2006, 2007, that you've had or that you experienced here as a school leader here at KIPP Tulsa?
There's one memory that jumps out that still hits my heart today. And I remember a group of our students, we allowed them to go off in small groups and to go to different restaurants in the food court in Grand Central. And a few of our students ran up against some older high school students that decided to try to rob them. And I remember the call to action that happened extremely quick. I was able to run over after hearing one of our students say, "Hey, we need to find our teachers or Mr. House." And I remember going over and approaching these older boys, these high school boys, and letting them know that they needed to not only give their money back that they had taken from our students, but leave them alone. I watched my students' faces after that instance go from "I know that these folks care for me" to "I know that these people love me."
Yeah.
And I still hear from a lot of those students on a daily basis. That was class number one in those navy blue polo shirts that they wore on a daily basis.
Wow, I just kind of think about the time when we first started KIPP Tulsa back in 2005 and where we are currently. Can you just imagine it? Right now we have over 600 students. We have a high school now. And wow, and next year we will have our first graduating class from the KIPP Tulsa University Preparatory High School.
It's exciting. It was the expectation. I'm not surprised that the legacy lives on, and some phenomenal work. Lives have been changed, over the course of time. So I'm extremely excited about the continued vision and the legacy that continues to be left for the so many families that have been affected by KIPP Tulsa.
All right. Well, hello, Joe.
Mr. Curry, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well.
Listen,
it's been a long time.
It has been a minute, man, but I'm truly elated to sit before you this afternoon and as we discuss your journey, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about 2005, the moment that you walked into that building at KIPP. Tell me about that experience.
That was something I am never going to forget. We were all white shirts, khakis. We were all put in the room. It was like, you don't know what to expect. Your mama just dropped you off. So it turned out to be a great experience. One that I am excited that I was a part of, and to say I was part of the founding class of KIPP. So it was a great one, a great experience.
That's good. And it's something that you mentioned that was one back at KIPP, and Mr. House, being the founder of KIPP, I just think the world of him and what he did for North Tulsa. And so I had a conversation with him earlier, and I said, "Mr. House, you never guess who's now back at KIPP." And he was like, "Who?" And I said, "Joseph Dyer." He's like, "Man, get out of here."
Man, I could tell. It's funny when I see people who knew me when I was in school, when I was a student. They just like, "Man, we'd be surprised to see that you made it."
Definitely. So think about it now. You have now matriculated through middle school, high school, college, and you're now an educator. What made you say yes to education?
Just really, I have everything that I wanted to do reverted back to me giving back to kids. So I worked for City Year, and City Year, we go into schools who aren't really performing well and try to get them back at grade level and on task. And so that really made me like, man, I think I could really do this teaching thing.
Man, Joe, it means the world to me to see you in this role as an educator.
You don't know this, but you were my first Black male teacher that I have ever had.
Wow,
So,
I didn't know that.
Just seeing you in that space made it possible for me to say, hey, maybe that could be me one day. So seeing you and Mr. House gave me the hope. So hopefully I can be that hope for another student.
That to me is really like the whole epitome of success. Success is not what you obtain. Success is what you can actually go back and give to others to get to where you are.
Yes, sir.
And so that's really powerful. So Joseph, now that you're an educator and you're doing great things, how has that been, you translating that passion from a virtual standpoint? Because I know right now we are virtual.
First year teaching alone, and I'm virtual, so it was really finding ways to connect with the students even though you are virtual. So sometimes I may start off playing music in the morning just to get some of the kids going, and just finding ways to meet them where they are. Say, hey, if you guys, I'm here if you need me. Sometimes you're overdoing it to let them know that you're not alone. We're going through this together. It's not just you. I'm going through it with you, and that we're going to get through this together.
It's good that you said that, because I feel like it's important as educators to really build a connection, especially right now. People can feel alone, and it's imperative that we try to build a connection to let them know that they have somebody in their corner fighting for them. So thank you for doing that, sir.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. If you had to lift up one thing that stayed with you at that moment, that you still utilizing that to motivate you right now, what was that one thing?
Without a shadow of a doubt, KIPP team and family has been one of the main things that has stayed with me and is helping me through my journey now here back at KIPP.
We have grown into a 5 to 12, and I first graduating class will be 2022, and I'm elated for that to happen.
I really applaud and I look forward to seeing first graduating class of KIPP High School.
Yes.
That's going to be something.
Yes.
That's going to be something.
Hi, I'm Jamia Newsome, and I'm the founding assistant principal at KIPP Tulsa University Prep High School. And before helping open the high school, I actually had the pleasure of serving as a writing teacher for about 5 years at our middle school. And I have a student with me that I had the pleasure of teaching, and her name is Michelle. Michelle, how are you?
Good.
Are you a little nervous?
Yeah.
And Michelle, I just want you to know that I'm excited for your journey, and it's just been a pleasure to just to see you journey through life. I've known you since the 8th grade, and just to capture your journey has been really, really special. I'm sure come May 2022, it's going to be very bittersweet to me. But it's also exciting, as I'm so delighted to see our high schoolers make their first, big step into the world.
Personally, I feel like I'm gonna be excited and proud of myself, because when I first started KIPP my 8th grade year, I wasn't too sure about my educational focus wasn't there, behavior focus wasn't there. But once I got into writing class with you, my reading, my writing, and everything, I can write an essay and. I write an essay. I know how to write an essay really good now. I feel like hook, frame, claim. You gotta get a thesis, you gotta hook them in, you gotta frame what you're gonna do in your body paragraphs, you gotta state them. At the end, tie it all up, the conclusion.
I love it. I taught something. Students learned something. Yeah, our relationship was tough. There was a lot of pushback at first. And then we just had a conversation after school one day, and we got a chance to know each other on a different level. It was like, this student has so much leadership potential. I'm like, we have to talk about positive leadership.
Mentally, it felt good, because I was one of the type to, if I said to do it or if I did it, then most people would do it. So when I was doing it, actually doing my work, telling people let's come on and do our work, and they follow, it made me feel good. So I feel like I don't have to be bad just for people to listen. I can do good and people will still listen.
It was a mirror moment for me. I see myself in a child, and I can also see why there might be some pushback there, because I'm recognizing the strongest parts of myself in another student. And that's the realization of okay, well, what if you were Michelle, what would you need? and how could you give it to her? I saw something in you that reminded me of myself. What do you think I saw in you that reminded?
The advocacy, the ability to elaborate on things. Like, you're me and I'm you. Like I don't know, like, I like to speak out about things and like voice my opinion and give positive feedback, like where it's needed. So I feel like, yeah. I personally feel like those talks helped steer me in like the right direction and just made me feel like KIPP actually cared about me and the staff was actually there, and didn't make me feel like put off or as I wasn't a part of the KIPP family, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, that's 100% facts, Michelle. And I know that at the end of our time together in 8th grade, you knew you had a big decision to make.
Yeah, I did have a big decision to make, regardless if I was going to the new KIPP high school for my 9th grade year, or if I wanted to go to another school, like another high school. I want to have a career, so it seems like we didn't have the same interest. And at KIPP, I visit so many colleges as me as a lower classman than they have as like being seniors about to graduate and get into the real world.
What colleges were you able to visit, during your time at KIPP?
I remember visiting Langston University, OSU, Prairie View A&M, University of Arkansas, UAPB. I don't even know. It's
a lot.
Yeah.
And part of our mission is for our students to live a choice-filled life. So, I can speak for our staff when we say, like, we are excited that you chose us and you chose to come back to us. And that really means a lot to us. I've been just privileged to walk alongside students in their journey as they begin to shape and create, what they want. So we're going to be reading a poem that kind of encapsulates Shell's journey through life and through KIPP and through her high school experience. Shell, are you ready to read that?
Yeah.
Well, what is the name of the poem that we wrote?
The Greener Green.
The Greener Green. The Greener Green. One day, I stared into the distance and saw a greener grass. The sky above my own garden seemed gloomy and overcast.
I wondered how I could get my garden to look like what I had seen, so I started to journey off into the distance to enjoy the greener green. As I approached the other side, I was quite taken back. The grass was not green at all, and I wanted to go back.
What I thought was a beautiful garden from afar was actually a mangled mess. The weeds, the locusts, the damaged conditions were signs that this garden was in distress. The flowers were nothing more than dandelions. The rosebuds were stems of thorns. My imagination had deceived me, and my reality did more.
Why did I leave my garden for the one on the other side? I should have cultivated the place I was planted and laid down my pride. I started to journey back to the place where I left before. It rained all along the journey, a total downpour.
When I reached my destination, the place where it had all started, I realized the rain had given nourishment to the garden it once watered. The sun came out and shone down on the plants. All was calm and serene.
I finally realized that on my side was indeed the greener green.
Hello, my name is Joshua Edwards. I'm a sophomore at Jackson State University, majoring in mass communications. I can proudly say I attended KIPP Tulsa College Preparatory Middle School from 2012 to 2015.
Good morning, guys. I am Dean Ray Sykes Jr., a sophomore, honors, philosophy major, African American Studies minor at Howard University, and I can also say I attended KIPP Tulsa Preparatory Middle School from 2012 to 2015.
We are both proud KIPP Tulsa alumni and Goldberg scholars. The Dave Goldberg Foundation is a scholarship program created to advance minorities in all aspects, financially, physically, and mentally. With that being said, how's school going?
That's a good question. It's going okay so far. I do love my African American literature class, but I'm not so much loving my Center for Writing pre-law course. It's definitely, running me through the winds. But then again, with school being remote, it's pretty odd.
Yeah, same here. I definitely can relate. Do you remember how much our band trips made us want to attend the HBCUs we attend today? I'm glad those weren't over Zoom.
That's very nostalgic, no, 100%. Just being on those campuses made us feel something that we hadn't felt before. Definitely that we felt alive and that we felt accepted in, a community there. But, how are your classes going?
They're mostly good. I'm working through a lot of prereqs for my major. So right now I'm taking introduction classes such as Introduction to Mass Communications, where we focus on the past, the present, and future of the media industry. I've been learning the importance of being versatile in a rapidly changing industry.
That's funny. You found out you love writing from a very young age. When we were in 7th grade, I remember you really liked writing.
I did. So I think what inspired me was oratorical press in 7th grade, if you remember. We had to interview the guest at Are You Smarter Than a KIPPster? And so Miss Brown was one of the teachers I interviewed. And so she was like, what do you want to do when you go to college? And I'm like, I want to do something that deals with writing and being in front of the camera. And she was like, oh, you mean broadcast journalism? And since then, I've been telling everyone that my major is broadcast journalism.
Oh my goodness. That makes so much sense though. From the onset, KIPP wanted us to shoot for the stars. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I remember the lockers we had in 8th grade with our dream universities on it, and to symbolize how on track we were to attend them. And that was definitely a powerful representation for me of, where KIPP wanted us to be at in life. What are your thoughts on that?
Thinking back, I'd say it was pretty empowering the way we always had something to strive for. Even at an early age, it's like the small things that KIPP took into account, such as implementing the Ghana system, making us work towards something greater. And I definitely feel like KIPP instilled in us the importance of setting goals and accomplishing them.
Absolutely.
What are some of the goals you're working on right now, speaking of goals?
That's a big question. Currently I'm a student government senator at Howard, and some of the goals I have for that is like writing legislation that will have sustainable and tangible impact on campus. Definitely very important for me. I'm also the co-founder of a Christian organization called Kings for Christ for minority males. And more personally, I'm definitely trying to work on myself more and more, become closer with the Lord each day during this pandemic.
That's very important, especially being, like you said, amid a pandemic. I feel like being mentally and spiritually balanced is something that we have to strive to work on. And success goes beyond physical success, it's internal success as well. Besides, I think you're great. You're amazing. I feel like your passion is inspiring. I love the way that you have a heart of wanting to see people grow. And even through all the things you do, your goal is how you can uplift other people. But I just love your ambition, your drive, and how you never let your past predict your future. You keep pressing on. So I love that about you, Darren.
That's so kind of you, and that's definitely so authentic. And having a Goldie network of stalwarts as yourself, who's so ambitious, so genuine, it's definitely helped me so much in everything I'm doing.
Yeah, that was definitely another thing KIPP always emphasized, the importance of maintaining a stable community/support system. I believe that is why KIPP called our peers team and family instead of just calling them ordinary students and teachers. Until this day, I maintain valuable relationships with many individuals from KIPP, with you being the example. They were very supporting, especially when my father passed in high school, and even when I contributed my efforts to enrolling in college. KIPP truly means to and through college, and that's just physically, mentally, and emotionally. The support is amazing. So KIPP asked us to express why we felt people should support KIPP. I thought we could project ourselves into the future for a quick second. You're a professor of philosophy. I'm a broadcast journalist doing a nationally televised interview with you. So my question is, what makes KIPP Tulsa an important investment?
I would first say, please invest in KIPP. KIPP is doing amazing work, and that we still are feeling the effects of today. I remember being in middle school, and that to and through college philosophy that they live by is actually practicing what they preach. And they're still constantly calling us, emailing us, making sure that we're solidified in all that we're doing.
I definitely agree with you, Dean Ray. I feel as if minorities rarely have chances or programs that invest not only in the present, but also their future. To anyone who wants to invest in KIPP, I say do it, because you're investing in the future of leaders, of impactful leaders, like me and Dean Ray.